All right, first of all, I want to thank Matthew and Eric for the Medical Freedom Alliance for having me here. Also want to thank Steve and Dewan for bringing this presentation to my attention. I'm going to talk to you about poll watching. Poll watching is when you go into a poll site and you look for fraud or any kind of illegal activity that could hurt the candidate that you're there poll watching for. Basically election fraud, all right? Now, first and foremost, I know poll watching can seem intimidating. Why? Because you're being asked to go into a large auditorium with a lot of machines and equipment that you're probably not familiar with. There's a whole lot of people there. You're not probably sure what to look for. And so that's what I'm here to do, to get you over that hump, give you that sense of comfort and that sense of confidence that you can actually go into a poll site and watch. And I'm going to talk to you specifically about what you're going to need and what you're going to need to look for, okay? Two recommendations. One recommendation is that you read over the poll workers manual. The poll workers manual, you can get that from vote.nyc, and basically what that is a manual that details all of the specifics in terms of what happens at a poll site. It's good to go in knowing exactly what you're looking at, knowing how the machinery works, knowing how the poll site is set up, and you can find all that information online in the poll workers manual. However, that's not required to be a poll worker, right? For example, if you was in a supermarket and you saw people stuffing groceries in their book bag and walking out, you don't need a store operations manual to know something's wrong with that, right? Okay, same thing with poll watching. With poll watching, you don't need a manual per se to know that a poll worker telling somebody how to vote, that's wrong. Or if you see somebody voting twice, that's wrong. Or if the numbers on the scanners and the poll pads add up, that's wrong, okay? But nevertheless, I do recommend you read that manual just so you can speak the same lingo when you're making your reports to the candidate, and when you're talking to the people in the poll site, you speak in the same lingo as them, okay? So, first and foremost, what you're gonna need is one of these. This is called a poll watcher's certificate, okay? A poll watcher's certificate. You get this from the candidate. Whoever's running for office, we should be able to give you one of these. Now, the first thing you might be thinking is, well, I don't know any, you might know the candidates, but you don't know how to get in touch with them. The best way to get in touch with the candidate is through your local Republican club, right? So you guys got guys like Steve and Dewan here, members of the Manhattan Republican Club here. They can put you in touch with the candidate. Why? Because when people are running for office, they go to the Republican clubs and say, hey, I need signatures or I need volunteers. So that the Republican club is how you get this. This is the best way to get one of these. The second thing you're gonna need to get, don't just ask for the certificate, ask for the list of ED/ADs at the site that you're going to. That's ED, stands for election district, and AD, okay? You're gonna need those, especially for early voting, because as soon as you walk in, they're gonna ask you for a certificate for every polling site, okay? And that's what I have here. Here you can see in my hand a certificate for every polling site, and this was at the LaGuardia Community College early voting polling site in Queens on 3110 Thompson Avenue. So when I walked in with signed certificates for each ED/AD like this, and they said, hi, my name is Rowen, I'm representing the campaign of Marvin Jeffcoat, candidate for City Council, District 26, and I have certificates for each ED/AD in the site. If you're serious about doing this, you're definitely gonna need this. Otherwise, you could just walk in with one, and then you're only gonna have access to one ED/AD. They're not even gonna work with you to show you all the information, all right? Now, on election day, all you need is one of these. You need multiple ones for early voting, but on election day, you only need one. However, from my experience, would you rather get up in the morning, get in your car, go out to the poll site on election day, and some jerk off is there telling you, no, you need multiple ones of these? Do you really want to have that argument on election day and get kicked out? So my recommendation, just go prepared. All you got to do is make photocopies of the signed certificate, put one of them in a photocopier, copy them for each election district, and then what you do, you write your name, the dates of the election, and then you write the ED, AD for each one, and so on and so on. Just go prepared. That way, if you deal with that argument, you can say, look, I don't need multiple I don't need multiple certificates, but just in case you want to play games, here you go, right? Now, what's going to happen once you present your certificates? They're going to ask you to sign in. You're going to sign your name, the date that you came, the time you came in, and in the comment field, you're going to put poll worker, right? And then what's going to happen depends on the site coordinator. You have some site coordinators, they like to take control of everything. And then you got some site coordinators that are very hands off. So what you're going to do, the site coordinator is going to take you over to a table, have you sit down, and then they're going to pull out what's called a poll book. And they're going to put the poll book in front of you. The poll, how many, raise your hand if you've seen a poll book, you know what a poll book is. Okay, for those of you who don't have your hands up, a poll book is basically an iPad. It's about this big. How many of you voted in the last 6 years? Raise your hand if you voted. Okay, so do you remember when you walked in to vote, they gave you one of these white and blue pens, and then you used the little rubber button at the rubber button at the bottom of this pen, and you signed your name on the iPad? Do you remember that? Yes. That's called the poll book. You're signing the poll book. And that poll book is recording your visit, is recording your name, is recording your address, is recording the date and time that you signed in. Okay? And so the site coordinator is going to bring one of those iPads over to you, sit you down, and you got to know what you're looking for, because else they're going to run you over and say, okay, here you go, now get out. So you got to have the mindset of knowing what to look for, and this is what I'm going to tell you right now. On that poll book, there's really two screens that you want to look at. They're going to show you the summary screen. So basically, if you were to hit the home button, it would take you to the home screen, and you got all these icons with several options. One of those icons is the summary button. The summary button gives you a summary of the number of checked-in voters, the number of affidavit ballots, the number of challenge ballots, the number of voided ballots, and it gives you that in a little convenient list. The list is about 5 lines long with numbers next to it, okay? And you have the option of doing that per unit, meaning just that iPad, right? Or for the whole location, right? All of the iPads in the entire polling site are synced. Don't let them gaslight you and tell you, oh no, you're only looking at one iPad, because that's what happened to me. They tried to tell me I'm only looking at one iPad, but then when you go to look at the per location information, I caught fraud at LaGuardia Community College, where the numbers on the per location for the number of checked-in voters was different than the number of voters in the summary report. Why is that significant? Because the summary totals for the entire location, when you look at the summary, you say by location, and it tells you 598 people checked in, you go over to the scanners, you look at the public count. When you add up the numbers on the public count, that equals the numbers on the summary total. However, the total actual number of checked-in voters was greater than that summary number. The implications of that is they were dropping votes, okay? So you got to know to look for that. That was on Wednesday at 5 p.m. when I went in, all right? I went back again yesterday, which was Friday. I saw the same exact thing. I said, show me the summary report. They showed me the summary report. And at this time, it was in the 800s. So in other words, they're trying to tell me that 300 people walked in between Wednesday and Thursday. So I said, well, show me an ED. I just pull up a random ED. Give me 064/37. Yeah, election district AD. The numbers was greater than the summary report, like by a factor like 128 physical souls who walked in for that specific EDAD who signed in versus what the summary on the scanners were saying. So there was a discrepancy. So I went to them, I said, okay, I want to file a police complaint. You say, oh, the officer's at lunch. The officer was at lunch when I got there. By the time I got back, by the time the officer got back, guess what? The numbers were different. And the psych warden is standing there laughing like, yeah, see, you didn't know what you were looking at. I said, nice move. Nice move. They changed the numbers. He made a phone call in the hour that I was waiting. They made a phone call to somebody and they changed the numbers. So this is what you need to do. You need to go in there, ask to see the summary report for the entire location, not the unit, for the entire location. Okay, hope you're taking notes. Then take a note, observe what that number is. Let's say, for example, that number is 600. During early election, that's the running total from Saturday to now. So 600 people, I'm just using a number. 600 people walked in from Saturday to now, okay? Then what you want to do, on that same screen is a tab that says checked in voters. Well, this is the tab where you can see the voter's name, the voter's address, and the time and date that the voter actually came in and signed their name and checked in. At the top of that screen is a total. Let's say that total is 600 for the location. Well, what does that suggest? That suggests that the number of physical souls who walked in and the numbers on those scanners are equal. No problem. Thank you for your day. Have a nice day. And you leave, right? If those numbers are different, you got a serious issue. You want to raise a complaint with the police officer. And then you want to take notes. So what I do is I go in like this with a notepad and I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes of, number one, the public count. The public count is the count on the scanners that tell you how many ballots were placed in the scanner. So every time somebody walks up to the scanner and places a ballot in the scanner, that public count number will increment by 1. You got that? Everybody has that? Okay. That's the public count. Let's say there's 4 scanners in this facility. And the public count on all of them say, let me use a number, 149. Well, you'd multiply that by 4, 149 times 4, you come out with 596. What does that number tell you? That number allegedly is the number of people who came in and put their ballots total in those scanners, okay? Well, what you want to do as a poll watcher, you want to say, okay, let me see the iPad, take me to the summary total, right? And then the summary total should say that same number, 596. And in most cases, that's what it will, because that's the number that they're trying to report. That's the alleged number. Let's just say that's the alleged number. You want the actual number. The actual number, you have to click on the checked in tab, where you can see the voters' names, addresses, and phone numbers. That's critical. The checked in tab, okay? And then on the checked in tab, there's a number at the top, which shows you how many total voters. Those numbers need to be in sync. They will try to gaslight you. If those numbers are different, they'll try to say, oh, you're not looking at the right thing. Well, dude, there's only 2 ways to look at it, by iPad or by location. You know, don't let them make you think you're crazy. Ask them to do it for you. Say, show me by location. He'll go like this, he'll hit by location, and then you say, show me the checked in voters. Look at the total. Why is the number of checked in voters greater than the summary total and the total on the scanner by the location? They won't have an answer for you. So I'm just telling you what I went through this week. I went 3 different times to over 2 different locations, and one time I had to file a police complaint with the police officer. So those are the 2 things. Now, I gave you my first recommendation. My second recommendation is we really need to do this as a team. Because when you walk in as one person, they're almost absolutely, and you find fraud, they're gonna gaslight you. If you say, why this stuff in those boxes with 25 ballots? They're gonna say, no, they're not. That's only 1 ballot. You say, no, that's a stack of ballots. No, you're not. You're only looking at 1. This is how seriously they gaslight you. You ever saw that movie 1984? Where they're holding up 4 fingers, say, how many fingers I'm holding up? And you say 4? Say, no, it's not. That's 3. This is literally what they're doing. They did this in 2020. They got away with it, and they know that playbook works. So it's better to go in as a team, because now you can say, okay, I had Ken over here. Kenneth was with me. Kenneth was observing each of the tables while I was observing the scanners, right? And now you could corroborate each other. It's harder for them to gaslight 2 or more people. It's easy to gaslight you because, oh, you crazy, right? So try to do this as a team. I'm going to end that and take some questions. I am forming an organization, a poll watching organization specifically, where we can coordinate on a large level. We need to work with each other. We need to work with the MFA, join their team, work with Steve and Dewan, join their team, join my team. Get active. Like somebody said, this is war. And we got to fight this on multiple fronts. Poll watching is just one of the fronts that we have to fight with, okay? And so what I'm asking you to do is before you leave, get with somebody in this room and say, hey, would you like to poll watch with me together? Okay? And then come to me, because what I'm going to do is put you guys in a team and I'm going to coordinate exactly when you walk in, what you're going to ask for, and we're going to take all that information, put it in reports, and then report it back up to Tom Zimich's people, the Haggerty brother, Bart Haggerty, who's, oversees all this. I don't know all the names. You probably know the names better than me, but we're going to escalate up the channels. We also have connections with Project Veritas. They'll come in and do an undercover report, right? So we need to organize this, and I would just ask that you think about, everybody can't be an island, and everybody can't sit home on the couch. We got to get up. Like someone said, I think it was Matt who said it earlier, you got to do this on boots on the ground. We got to get off the couch, get out to these poll sites, and hold them accountable. And with that, I'm going to take questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we allowed to bring our smartphone in with us?
Yes, you can, but you're not allowed to record. They're going to tell you, don't record. But here's my recommendation, record anyway, right? Because you never know how that information could be used in the future as evidence.
I was told that you can photograph by several election lawyers that I can take out my phone when I'm filling out my ballot. I can take my ballot, fill it out, take my driver's license or voter registration card, set it on top of the ballot, take a picture with my phone. Now I have a receipt of my vote.
Correct.
Now you can do an exit poll.
Correct.
And exit polls are very accurate. So if we have an exit poll showing Sliwa or Peppertone got 90,000 votes at my polling place, and we've got receipts to back it up, I want to see him lie about that.
Correct. Absolutely. And that, to piggyback off what you just said, if we had a team doing this, we can have a team of people outside with those little handheld clickers. And every time you click the button, it increments a number. And every time you see somebody run out, you just click. This is take a count.
Receipts, like we did at an ATM when you deposit cash.
Yeah.
We couldn't do any of this, so we create our own receipts. I email you all the receipts at the end of the day. It's password protected, everyone, okay? And then you get it. Now you have all these receipts. So when they try to say that only 60,000 people voted and we've got 80,000 receipts, and they're colored in little bubbles for either Peppertone or Sliwa, I want to see Eric Adams talk his way out of that.
Yeah. Getting hard evidence is how you get them. They did not count on me walking in there. I caught them by surprise. When I walked in there with this, they didn't count on that. Why? Because other poll watchers were going in with one certificate. You know what they were telling them? Sorry, pal, you need multiple certificates for each EDAD. When I came in like this, it was like, I could see the guy's hand was shaking, right? When he was sitting me down at the table, he wasn't prepared, and I knew what to ask in advance. So let's think about teamwork. With that, any other questions? So for early voting, and it's too late now because early voting ends today. For early voting, you're going to need multiple certificates for each EDAD that you examine. Now, to answer to your point, yes, you could just walk in with one, and guess what's going to happen? You're only going to look at one EDAD. Is that effective? No. Okay, on election day, you only need one of these. All right, so you're correct. On election day, you only need one. However, it's my recommendation, you still get multiple in case you're dealing with an a-hole who wants to jerk you around. Do you want to be jerked around when you get there? No. I'm not taking that chance. I'm going with multiple, just so I don't even got to have that conversation. Yes, next question.
Isn't there a problem with the election? Isn't there a problem they're complaining about is the electronic machines themselves, and they're saying They should go back to paper ballots because the machine can be manually manipulated.
Yes,
And change. And
100%.
What the big problem is?
100%, 200%. I saw that with my own. I saw that with my own two eyes this week. Again, on Wednesday, I went. There was thousands of checked-in voters, but they were reporting only 596 voters. Yesterday, Friday, I went. They were reporting 800 voters, but the checked-in voters were in the thousands, and essentially they were dropping votes. I said, I want to file an official police complaint with NYPD officer. The officer was supposed to be there, but the officer was on lunch. When the officer came back, I told the officer what I just told you guys. And by the way, the officers, he kind of cozy with the site coordinator because, you know, they're there every year, so they kind of know each other. They was kind of cozy with each other. It was almost to the point I was begging, hey, officer, can I show you the evidence, please? I had to ask him like 4 or 5 times, would you like to see the evidence, officer? Finally, he was like, okay, sure. When I went and took the officer to show him everything I just told you, guess what? The numbers magically worked, right? The numbers were like jived up. And the site coordinator was standing there like this. Say, I told you. He didn't know what he was talking about. Right? So that shows you that they have the ability to do exactly what you just said, manipulate the numbers remotely. They could change it on the fly.
But I'm saying they'll be electronic people and know it's all run by the same company, all the machines, and they can do whatever they want to the machines. Whatever you watch, they can change.
Yeah, that's what I just said. They can change the numbers. I don't know who it does it. I don't know if it's, whatever. They can change the numbers. Yeah, I don't know all those details. I'm just a poll watcher. All I know is they can change the numbers. Correct, yeah. They changed the numbers within the course of 60 minutes while I was there. Yeah. So when you go to a polling site, you have what's called the election district / assembly district, right? It's 2 sets of numbers, and they're organized at different tables. So one table has EDADs, et cetera, et cetera. And depending on where you live, what your address is, you'll be assigned to a specific EDAD when you go to vote, okay? So when you're there and you pull up the iPad and you configure it to look at an EDAD, whether it's for the site or the pad, your name will come up for your specific EDAD. So as a poll watcher, you're not gonna see that. They're not gonna let you see that information unless you have a certificate for that. So to the other gentleman's question, on election day, you only need one certificate. It's my recommendation just to be prepared to go with multiple, just in case, right? And you get that information from the candidate, yes. Yes.
So, did you get a paper police report or?
Yeah, good question. So when you file a report, if you see fraud and you file a report, they're gonna actually have you write down your testimony on a police report paper. But they're not gonna assign that paper with the report number until they take it back to their office and do their thing. So what you're gonna have to do, they're gonna tell you to come in and pick up that report later. And then if you're either gonna go back and pick up the report or the candidate's gonna pick up the report, and you just gotta let them know who's gonna pick up the report. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
But the thing that I really want to talk about is the Board of Elections, because when I was talking to Thomas Mitch about what the Queen's Board of Election, he said the Queen's Board of Election actually has a pretty good rate of error, and most places are 15, and Queen's is like 5. But the thing is, I just want to maybe talk about how the Board of Elections functions in this, because the Board of Elections tallies these votes, gets these votes, sets the stuff up. They have to kind of look good enough, right? Or else they get sort of voted out. So, it's this whole thing is so manifold that it's really hard to wrap your head around. But Rowen, that was a great presentation.
Thank you.
And it really made sense.
Thank you. So to answer your question, yes. So I went to another polling site in the same district, the Museum of something or another. I forget where it's at. It's on 35th, like 3100. Yeah, Moving Image, Museum of Moving Image. I went there. I did the same exact exercise that I just told you about. All the numbers were good. There was no problems with the numbers, okay? The only problem I saw was when I went to LaGuardia Community College. LaGuardia Community College for District 26 happens to have 68 EDADs. It had the most EDADs for that location, and it just so happened to be fraud going on there. So I think they spread it out, to answer your question, Steve. They have it where there's no fraud at this location, but there's some fraud over here. So how they win with that is they count on us not being organized. They count on us not being comprehensive and robust in our approach to poll watching. So if we are comprehensive as a team and we are robust as a team, we can go in there, we can catch all the fraud. We gotta do it, people, we got it. You understand? Okay, so step one would be everybody would need to get one of these certificates from their candidate, right? You go directly through the candidate, or you go through the Republican Club, and you also get the EDADs for the site you're going to. And the way I would organize it, I would put people in groups of teams. I would talk to you first, find out where you live, like which sites you're closest to. I'm gonna make it as easy as possible for you, so you could take baby steps in this approach. And then I would organize you into teams according to where you live in the nearest election site next to you, okay? And then I would organize you going during the day when the polling site opens. Another team goes, or another team or another person goes in the middle of the day to see how those numbers are aligning. And then another team, whether it's one person or another team, go at the night when the polls close to make sure those numbers are in sync. Because remember, they have the ability to change those numbers electronically. So you want to catch them in the act. And the best time to catch them is in the morning and when they close, right? Secondary to that, in terms of organizing, the way I would also organize it, you're allowed to electioneer 100 feet away from the poll site. So if the entrance is over there at that exit sign, you could be over there at that exit, well, whatever 100 feet is, right? Okay? And I would have somebody out there passing out flyers for Curtis Sliwa, whoever, Tom Zimmich, whoever it is, right? I would also have somebody outside with a clicker counting the number of souls that come out of the poll booth, okay? And maybe, if we have enough people, you have somebody to say, do it, what's it called, exit poll. I would have someone do an exit poll. Hey, who did you vote for? Who did you vote for? Okay, we asked 100 people who did they vote for. 85% said they voted for Sliwa, right? And we would do that we had that same protocol at multiple sites, right? And my goal is by next year this time, for next year's election, we want to have an army. I want to have everybody in this room poll working. You understand? Everybody in this room need to be poll watching, okay? Going out, all right? So that's basically it. If you want to get in contact with Marvin Jeffcoat, he's offering $120 to anyone who wants to poll watch on election day. Come through me, I'll get you in contact with Marvin Jeffcoat if you don't already have connection to him, and get you one of his certificates for District 26 out in Sunnyside.
Okay, another question I had, Rowen. Can I poll watch at a district that I don't vote at?
Yes, you can. You need a candidate who's running for that district and/or for that borough. So, for example, let's say you live in Brooklyn and you want to poll watch in Queens. Well, then you need a certificate, one of these, from either Tom Zimmich, who's running for Queens Borough President, or for a candidate running in that district. So let's say you're in District 31. You would go to Vanessa Simon, or you would go to Tom Zimmich. If you're in District 26, you would go to Marvin Jeffcoat, and so on and so on. Everybody understand that? And whoever's running for Brooklyn, in Manhattan, just know who the candidates are. You contact them through your local Republican club. And then what I would ask, you come with me so we could coordinate together as a team. I have this clipboard. Just come up here, put your name, phone number, email address on this clipboard, okay?
Rowen, thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.